Good day to everyone. My name is Happy Amon. I'll be presenting on protecting the enterprise data centers from organized crime, as it's a research topic that I'm working on. Let me introduce myself. Like I said, my name is Happy Amon. I'm a University of Botswana graduate where I was studying Bachelor of Information Systems. After joining the field of work, I had the privilege to be trained on few professional courses such as CCNA, CCNP Route, ethical hacking, computer hacking forensic investigator, CISSO, ITILv3 SAP ERP Foundation, and CCNA Security. I have worked in different companies, different fields, but still kept the same job title of being a network engineer for more than 6 years. I've worked for Limpopo University where I was a lecturer. I've worked for 3 banks, which is Barclays, Standard, and First Capital Bank. I've worked in the mining industry, which is Lazaka Plan International. I've worked for the government, and I've worked also for Safe Investments. So with my 13 years of experience, I've been exposed to different systems, and I ended up having the zeal or a passion to pursue cyber security because it was not that much far from what I've been doing, which is networks. So what is going to be covered in my presentation is going to be this, which is what is security, security concepts, the definitions of security terms, the functional areas of a data center, which you need to know how to protect it, unacceptable behavior, examples of security breaches, cyber attacks, targeted areas by criminals, classes of threats in organized crime, security of data, the strategies and measures that you can put in place, and further measures to address cyber threats. Now, when we go into the definition, so many researchers, so many books, so many authors, they have defined security in different versions. And since the term has had many different meanings to different people in different places and different times over the course of human history, there are many different ways to think about security. And I've chosen these 2 definitions, which is of the art of war. The art of war teaches us to rely not on the likelihood of the enemy not coming, but on our own readiness to receive him. Not on the chance of his not attacking, but rather on the fact that we have made our position unassailable. And then we've got also the NIST Computer Security Handbook, which defines computer security as the protection afforded to an automated information system in order to attain the applicable objectives of preserving the integrity, availability, and confidentiality of information system resources. When you talk about information system resources, we're talking about hardware, software, firmware, information or data, and also telecommunications. As I had said, there's going to be definition of security terms. I'll continue to define them because all these terms, they're being used every day in cyber, in security, and you need to know these terms and what they mean. We have adversary, which is a threat agent. This is an entity that attacks or is a threat to a system. Then we've got an attack, which is a deliberate attempt to evade security services and violate security policies of a system. Then we've got countermeasure. These are actions. It can be a device, it can be procedures that are put on place, or it can be a technique that you use to reduce the risk. Then we have risk. Risk is an expectation of loss expressed as the probability. Then we've got security policy, which is a set of rules and practices to protect a system. Many companies, they miss it here. They can have security policies in place. You cannot create your own policies and try to enforce them because it will not be easy to adhere to them. So these are a set of rules and practices to protect systems, which many organizations really need to look into. Then we've got a system resource, which is an asset. It can be data, it can be system, it can be service facility. Then we have a threat. A threat is the potential violation of security. Then lastly, we have got vulnerability. Vulnerability, we're talking about a flaw or weakness in a system design. It takes us now to the security concepts that you have found on the definition by the NIST handbook. When you're talking about confidentiality, integrity, and availability, these are terms that we hear about them every day. But it is important to look back into the research topic that I'll be presenting and be informed that cybersecurity is aimed at protecting the company's digital assets against the ever-growing cyber attacks. So cybersecurity can be ensured by developing appropriate security controls to provide several security features, such as prevention and detection of cyber crimes. And the main purpose of cybersecurity is these three, the SEER triad. The main purpose of cybersecurity is to ensure confidentiality, integrity, and availability of data and services. Now, I'm going to define them. When we talk about confidentiality, we're talking about preserving authorized restrictions of information access and disclosure, including means for protecting personal privacy and proprietary information. And we talk about integrity, we mean guarding against improper information modification or destruction, including ensuring information non-repudiation and authenticity. And then we have availability, which is ensuring timely and reliable access to and use of information. You need to understand that when we talk about enterprise data centers, we should know that if you go on internet and you research, you'll find that those digital assets and systems that are kept safe in our data centers, they are being attacked every day. Research shows that global damages from ransomware alone are expected to reach $20 billion by 2021, a number that is 57 times higher than that in 2015. And with all these definitions that I just wanted you to understand, it shows that when you have the SEER triad, it's actually a security model that has been developed to help people think about various parts of IT security. And then I'm going to move now on to functional areas of a data center. When we talk about a data center, we're talking about a data center typically being a place where or which houses many components that support the infrastructure building blocks, such as core switches of the campus network, the edge routers of the private one. For example, company might just build a single data center and share all the resources, such as their servers, their firewalls, their routers, their switches, and extra. So now, when we look at these functional areas of data center, it is important to know that security is vital here. Data center security refers to the physical practices and visual technologies used to protect data center from external threats and attacks. Now I'm going to go into all these 5 functional areas and elaborate them further. We're going to start with infrastructure services. Here we consider that a data center is a facility, stores IT infrastructure composed of networked computers and storage used to organize, process, and store large amounts of data. Remember, criminals, they target data. For private companies moving to the cloud, yes, data centers reduce the cost of running their own centralized computing networks and servers. But data centers provide services such as data storage, backup, recovery, data management, and networking. And because data centers they hold such sensitive information, such as customer data, intellectual property. Sites have to be both digitally and physically secured. That's why I started with infrastructure services. Now we have got application services. We consider the application services here that includes a number of features that enhance the network awareness of applications and use network intelligence to optimize application environments. We're going to go now to security services. When we consider security services in a data center, we consider things which includes the features and technologies that are used to secure the data center infrastructure and application environments. And this comprehensive approach considers the use of all possible security tools in addition to hardening every network device and using a secure management infrastructure. Now let's go to storage services that can be found housed by a data center. These ones, they include the capability of consolidating directed or direct attached disks by using disk arrays, for example, that are connected to the network. This kind of setup, normally they provide a more effective disk utilization mechanism, and it allows the centralization of storage management. Remember, all these things are being housed by a data center, which means if a criminal come and target this, it means the whole organization can be doomed. Then we go to the last one, which is business continuance. Remember, when you put things, you make sure that the storage is for business continuity in times of disaster. So when you talk about business continuity here, we're talking about infrastructure services support that support the highest level of application availability through the use of networking technology in the three major areas described. So we can have a site selection, which refers to how you allow your automatic detection of failure to be showing in a data center. We can have maybe a SAN extension. A SAN extension refers to the process of stretching an existing SAN to a secondary location. It's some of the things that are found in storage. And we can have a data center interconnectivity, which are now the services that in which connectivity alternatives provided by various technologies. So now, further, we are now going to look into targeted areas by criminals. Criminals, like I said, they target your data center because they want what is housed there. They target data center ICT equipment. They target the environment. They target networking and communications, and they target the software architecture that is there. To go deep into that one, do you know that computers are being used for criminal activities every day? Take a minute, think about. Are you aware that computers are being used for criminal activities daily? You have given it a thought? So now, because you've given it a thought, I'm going to point few things. Research has shown that computers can be incidental aspect of the commission of the crime and might contain information about the crime. Computers might be the source of evidence for certain crimes. Drug dealers, they might sell their illegal substances through encrypted emails using computers. They can arrange meetings with clients to distribute their drugs using computers. Profits and sales made from drugs can be recorded and kept in files in computers. Think about it. That's why a computer as an ICT equipment is a target. Again, research indicates that serious criminals, such as those who engage in terrorism and organized crime, might store evidence or their crimes on computers. This brings me to the definition of organized crime. What is organized crime? Organized crime, according to research, is significant criminal activity by 3 or more people in a group that has some type of formalized structure whose primary objective is monetary gain. It can be monetary gain, it can be just to fulfill their own interests. But it's interesting to know again that The determination as to whether a particular crime is a cyber crime depends on the role of the computer in the crime. To be considered a cyber crime, computers must be either the target of the crime or the tools used to commit this crime. Still on this point, more information is vital for all of you to know that it is very important to be noted that cybercrime includes crimes where the target is that computer. A computer can be a target. A perpetrator attempts to break into the computer, steals information from that computer, bombards the computer, or launches even an attack from outside and causes damage to the computer. Which takes me back to say, most of organizations, they never know they're being attacked until they lose all the services. That's why now it takes to issues of denial of services, hacking being encountered, cracking, malicious software, dissemination, computer viruses, logic bombs, botnet, worms, as much as you can remember. So when we deal with enterprise data centers, it requires knowledge of both your physical infrastructure, that is your building and your air conditioning, and the IT infrastructure, which is your servers, your routers, and your consumables. And the above are areas that criminals attack and they target, which I've indicated here. So there are a lot of things here that I want you to think about, which can also help. Although I'm going to cover measures that can be put in place, I would like to also say, according to Boven and Herkler 2011, servers are powerful computers that form a significant part of your IT assets in an organization. These powerful servers, they provide the organization with ability to access, to provide, to analyze, to store data, and even to provide information. And the criminal interests are here as a result. So the security tools and features that should be put in place can be access control lists, which will help you to filter your packets. They can also prevent unwanted access to the network infrastructure devices. And at the same time, you can have your firewalls. And the placement of firewalls marks a clear delineation between highly secured and loosely secured network perimeters. So firewalls are really important, not only just to have a firewall, but also to configure it right, enable the best features, monitor it, and make sure that it's being updated. We also have got intrusion detection systems, which addresses security issues also. Intruder detections, they also help because they are of highly secure data centers where the goal is to protect the data. Okay, and then we go to secure management. Secure management includes, maybe you use secure shells, you can use SNMPs, you can come up with all those and they can help you a lot. Data center environment, which is the second point, as a target. Here we look at dedicated power supplies for data center, for business continuity. Imagine right now if a criminal would just target your power supply and the whole organization is off. It means it's loss of services, and that person would have achieved. So here, you look at the cooling and the lighting in a data center, which may be dedicated standalone facility, or it can be purpose-built within a larger facility. Criminals are eyeing such environments. Most of the data centers are monitored and managed through a network of hundreds or even thousands of sensors used for real-time telemetry, for heating, for cooling, for maintenance alerts, and for physical security, which now shows that because data centers houses critical computing resources, enterprises must take special arrangements with respect to both the facilities that house the equipment and the personnel has to be there 24/7. Remember I said these are things that we never look into: your cooling capacity, your cabling, your temperature, your humidity controls, your fire smoke systems. If we have got surveillance systems that are there, sometimes people ignore such things. But if criminals can find any loophole here, they'll definitely attack. Moving on to network and communications. Here we look at the aspect that security can be divided into physical and software security. When you talk about physical security here, it encompasses a wide range of processes and strategies used to prevent outside interference. This is where now it goes into your firewalls, how you ensure that your passwords cannot be cracked. These are issues, how your visitors may use authentication to enter your building. This is physical security, how your people use verification cards, how they use their personal passcodes, how they use employee badges to read, how they use biometric systems. All these things, they are covered under your environment when it comes to physical security. And when you talk about software architecture, which is the last one, here further research indicates that hacking, malware, spyware are obvious threats to data stored in a data center. Here we talk about things like SIEM, have an event management tool, such as SIEM, that will provide you visibility and control into everything from access and alarm systems, sensors, creating secure zones, and then administrators can now split network into 3 zones. They can be a test area with a great deal of flexibility. They can have a development zone, which is slightly more better than the first one, and a production zone with only approved production equipment. Many people miss it here also. So before the applications and codes are deployed, certain tools may be used to scan for vulnerabilities, things that as we go on, you will see why it's important to always conduct vulnerabilities. Now, there are some unacceptable behaviors to consider every day when we consider issues of cybercrime: stealing information, modifying information, denying access. Here, there are things that you should know, that you have to ensure that you don't look at criminals as people only who are outside. Criminals can be inside. Think about disgruntled employees. Think about employees who are just excited to have privileges and then to use systems for their own benefits. Think about ex-employees, those who leave the organization. They know where everything was located in data centers. Think about these people. Now, that's why I'm mentioning all these 3 as unacceptable behavior, things to consider and to look at when you are in an organization. I've given an IT breach, which was an attack that happened in 2019. In this attack, the summarized cyber attack, categorized by region according to the report, indicated that mobile attacks were 30%, crypto miners were 21%, botnet 13%, banking 6%, and ransomware at 3%. And according to this report, it's an indication that cybercrime, it happens in infrastructures. Another reason why you need to protect your data center. With such increase in cyber attacks, it is indicated on researches that so many organizations have their critical data stored in data centers. So if you are one of those people who store all your data there, you better consider putting measures in place. Cyber attacks, these are 3 that I've mentioned here. Someone can attack your online identities. It can be attacking of industrial systems. It can be attacking of specific targets, maybe those IT. So now we move on to the classes of threats in organized crime. We have 4 that I've identified here. We have got unauthorized disclosure, we have deception, we have disruption, and we have got usurpation. Now, I'm going to define each one of them. When you're talking about unauthorized disclosure, we mean either exposure, interception, inference, and intrusion. Exposure, it means sensitive data that is directly released to an unauthorized entity. These are common things that are threats in every organization. Interception, we're talking about an unauthorized entity directly accessing sensitive data traveling between authorized sources and destinations. Inference, we're talking about a threat action whereby an unauthorized entity indirectly accesses sensitive data by reasoning from characteristics or byproducts of communications. And the last one is intrusion, an unauthorized entity gaining access to sensitive data by circumventing a system security protection. Then moving on deception. Deception, we're talking about masquerade, falsification, and repudiation. Masquerade, we mean an unauthorized entity performing a malicious act by posing as an authorized entity. Falsification, it should be noted that here we are talking about false data being used to deceive an authorized entity. And repudiation is an entity falsely denying responsibility for an act. We move on to the third one, which is disruption. Here we're talking about incapacitation, we're talking about corruption, and we're talking about obstruction. Incapacitation means disabling a system component. Corruption, we're talking about adversely modifying system functions of data or data. And obstruction, it means interrupting the delivery of system services by hindering the system operation. The last one, which is usurpation, here we are talking about misappropriation and misuse. Someone can take advantage and be that entity that assumes unauthorized logical or physical control on a system resource. Or it can be misuse, whereby someone causes a system component to perform a function or service that is detrimental to system security. These are classes of threats in organized crime that each and every organization should know that if by any chance a criminal gain access, this is what is going to result. These are the consequences. Then strategies and measures that are to be put in place. Remember, the topic is ways and measures of how you can protect your enterprise data center from organized crime. We have access control. Here, these are the strategies and measures. Limit information system access to authorized users. And we're talking about, when we say access control, we mean limiting information system access to authorized users, processes acting on behalf of authorized users or devices. We have awareness and training. It's very important. Cyber is for all. It's not only for IT. If you don't make someone aware, these are the very people that a criminal should go through them in order to attack the whole organization. So when we're talking about awareness and training, we are saying managers and users are made aware of the security personnel, and then they are trained for duties and responsibilities. And then there's engagement. Every time there's a threat, every time there are crimes, the whole organization is being made aware on precautions to take. Then we have got audit and accountability. Auditing is very, very important. When we talk about audit here, we're talking about things that are going to be mentioned on this next slide of security assessments. Things like vulnerabilities. You will never know how vulnerable you are until you do business impact analysis. So when I talk about audit and accountability here, I'm saying create, protect, and retain information system audit with actions that can uniquely be traced and with users who can be held accountable. Is very, very important. We're talking about certification and accreditation and security assessments. Periodically, you have to assess the security of your organization, develop and implement plans of action. In addition to that, you should also ensure that as an organization, you authorize the operation of information. Information is very vital. There should be authorization at all times. Monitor security controls on an ongoing basis. It's very, very important as a security measure to be taken. And we have configuration management. Many a times we engage engineers who come on site to configure a system after we purchase. And as they leave, we don't explore more configurations that are there and more features. So here we are saying establish and maintain a baseline configurations and inventory establish and enforce security configuration. Upgrade your configurations at all times. Then we have got contingency planning, which now helps you to establish, maintain, implement plans for emergency response, backup operations, and post-disaster recovery. Interesting things that when are put in place as an organization, nothing can happen to you. Another strategy, which is identification and authentication. Here, we're going to look at issues like identify information system users. Don't just give rights to everyone in the organization. Processes acting on behalf of users or devices, and authenticate or verify their identities is very, very important. Incident response. This is very vital because many times when an incident happens, some people can not even record it because they don't think that is very, very vital. So here we're saying establish an operational incident handling capacity or capability report, where you will have to report your incidents to appropriate officials and authorities. Management needs to know if there's an incident. They shouldn't know after the incident is solved. We go to maintenance, perform periodic and timely maintenance at all times. Media protection. Protect information system data, both its paper, whether it's digital, and limit access to information on media to authorized users. Sanitize or destroy media before disposal or release for reuse. You cannot throw a paper in a dustbin. They say to catch a thief, you act like a thief. What ethical hackers do for information gathering, they pick every paper. So here we are saying if it's important that you do shredding, shred every document. Now we go to physical and environmental protection. Limit physical access to information systems, equipment, and the respective operating environments to authorized individuals. Protect the physical plant or support infrastructure by providing supporting utilities for information systems. Protect those information systems against environmental hazards. Provide appropriate environmental controls in facilities containing information systems. It's very, very important. Continued again, we have got planning. The reason why I'm mentioning a lot of strategies is because the research topic is say, how can I be safe? So now when we're talking about planning, it means you have to develop, document, and periodically update and implement your security plans. We've got personal security. Ensure that individuals occupying positions of responsibility within the organization are trustworthy. This is important. And meet established security criteria for those positions. If it needs ongoing vetting, you need to do it. Ensure that organizational information and information systems are protected during the after personnel actions, such as terminations and transfers. I mentioned that I said disgruntled employees and ex-employees are the biggest threats. So it's supported here by saying, make sure that when people are terminated or they are transferred, you ensure that information is secured from them. Employ formal sanctions for personnel failing to comply with organizational security policies and procedures. That's why I'm saying, if you enforce your policies, you create them, they cannot be adhered to. Engage someone to create policy for you, and then with those policies, let them be enforced, and then they can be of good value. We've got risk assessment. It's very important to do business impact analysis. Periodically assess the risk of organizational operations, organizational assets, and even individuals. It's very, very important. Then we've got systems and services acquisition. Here we are saying allocate sufficient resources to protect systems, employ system development lifecycle processes, employ software usage and installation restrictions, ensure that third-party providers employ adequate security measures. Remember also the vendors that engage can be a threat to you. The last one is system and communication protection. Here we basically say monitor, control, protect organizational communications, employ architectural design, software development techniques, and systems engineering principles. We move on now to continuation of the strategies and measures that needs to be in place. We have system and information integrity. Here, when we talk about this one, we're talking about to identify, to report, to correct, and system flaws in a timely manner. You pick up something, make sure that you report it and it's corrected immediately. Also provide protection from malicious code. Monitor security alerts and advisories and take appropriate actions. Many companies here, they miss it because they call every log a false positive. Sometimes whatever that appears as a false positive, sometimes it's how an intruder is trying to enter into your network. We also have got the other three here, which is encryption, message authentication, and random numbers. Here, you should look at the universal techniques for providing confidentiality for transmitted or stored data using encryption. So we move on to secure data. The target, we said, is stealing of data. Here, we have got importance of IT passwords. Passwords are basic IT control, in which a user or a system or data must enter some personal code known only to the user to gain access to the IT resource. Here, we basically say it's very, very important that these things are looked into. Look at the security of data. Enterprise data, whether it's a customer account data, whether it's major data center in an ERP system database, or a field data that is collected on a staff member's laptop, all they need to be protected. That's why we're mentioning things like passwords. When you review internal controls in an IT application area, internal auditors' controls should be in place. And an internal auditor should always look for the effective use of passwords. It's very, very important. Other authentication systems should also exist. Maybe fingerprints, your eye pupil scanner. You can use your password systems perhaps on regular business applications. And internal auditors should be aware of the requirements for good password controls. This can only be achieved if there are policies in the organization. We have viruses. Internal auditors should recognize the software viruses that are constant threat and look for the effective implementation of antivirus software, or every computer system reviewed, whether it's at corporate level, whether it's a business laptop, an internal auditor should determine that a current version of the software protection software is installed. It's very, very important. We've got phishing and other identity threats. The growth of online shopping and banking has caused increasingly a widespread cyber security risks today. How many people provide their own information on internet? You log in, you're trying to buy something, they ask for information, you feed them with information. Now this is where we say criminals, they frequently look for social engineering ways to dupe a user and to steal that user's identity. It's very, very important here that if you are a user, and if you are an auditor, or if you are someone who is training people on awareness, want people to avoid such frauds, internal auditors should be aware of these schemes and provide appropriate warnings when asked. Then we have got other computer security issues. For example, IT networks today must deal with many security threats and malicious code. Coping methods include passwords, firewalls, as I've already stated them, and ongoing internal control reviews by internal auditors should include network and cybersecurity control procedures. We have got IT systems privacy. Here we are saying privacy is an expectation that confidential personnel information disclosed in a private place will not be revealed to third parties, when that disclosure would cause either embarrassment or emotional distress to a person of reasonable sensitives. So here what are we saying? We say the next section describes some evolving privacy issues in today's world of network cybersecurity concerns this matter. And as part of everyday life, data is collected, like I said, from individuals, from enterprises, frequently without their consent, often without their knowledge. For individuals, data are collected and stored in computer systems. Maybe you are subscribing or you are buying using your card. These are things that should be your areas of concern. Moving to the next slide, the measures to address cyber threats. We have first some questions. These are the questions that you should be able to answer when you are in an environment where you want to be safe. Is there national cybersecurity coordination in place? What is the status of public-private partnership? Have you conducted training and awareness? It's very, very important to have answers. And in conclusion, I can say, according to Villano-Matt 2004, findings are that there are recommendations that network resources are to be identified and that audit should be done on the networks to do regular checks for any weaknesses that intruders can use and commit cybercrime or organized crime. To protect your enterprise data center, further research needs to be conducted to proactively search for cyber threats that are lurking undetected in a network to protect data centers from organized crime. In addition to this conclusion, I can say audit is very, very important. We buy systems every day. Systems are being produced every day, but these systems are being produced by different companies. When they produce systems as things that can aid you. But in them aiding you, most of the features that concern security, sometimes in those systems would not have been looked into, such that when you purchase a system, in every configuration, you have to go in it, make sure that it meets your standards, make sure you do your vulnerability testing at all times, because only if you see how vulnerable you are able now to see your exposure, you see your posture for security, and you are able to now either mitigate those threats that you have found in those vulnerabilities, or you do remediation. So it's very, very important that all the measures that I've mentioned, they be taken in place and ensure that you are secure from organized. This was the end of my presentation. At the end of the topic, I've got references which can be of very good value to you, which you can look into. And now I'm ready for questions and answers. Thank you so much.